Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the modern market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make some and or a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today, we have Shoggoth running to $34 million market cap after fighting off a Wintermute vampire attack. Legendary's got the breakdown on that in a little bit. We've got the first top trader tournament on ApeChain concluding with 3.1k buy-ins and 20k to the winner. Also, the MakerDAO community will vote on a return to the Maker brand after one of the largest crypto rebrandings to Sky. We've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs, plus a very special edition today, an awesome conversation with Han, the founder of Shape, and the brilliant AI video artist Chikai, who is the founder of Postino AI and also the co-creator of Google Earth. Absolutely fascinating. Stay tuned for that. Today, we've got Legendary and Han in the co-host seats. We're ready to get into it. But before we do that, just a reminder, friends, nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is so risky and we don't know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Tuesday. It is the 22nd of October. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm still taking the time to get used to my free Monday. As opposed to last Monday, I didn't spend it in a productive way. I spent it recovering from what has been a very late night weekend in the trenches, trading memes, staying up until like 2, 3, maybe 4 a.m. So I definitely share Han's energy of taking a bit of time to wake up for the spaces, despite the fact that for me it's 1 p.m. and he's in an earlier time zone. Let's put it like that. But it's been fun, and honestly, now I'm excited that we have a meme coin headline that I can now competently talk to, other than having to look into it and not really knowing what's going on, but having actually the first-hand experience on what has been going down over the last couple of days.
I like it. I mean, usually that is half the time how we pitch ourselves. We are actually practitioners of what we talk about. Now we are actually in the trenches a little bit more on the meme coin side. You got your first 100x, you said yesterday, Legendary. How was that feeling? How did that play out?
It was quite funny. I was trading with a friend of mine, actually wanted to go to bed, kind of entered the last trade. So I said, I'm going to go to bed before 1 a.m. It was like 0:50. We entered the trade and we saw that it got like a lot of traction, and it basically sent all the way from a 50k market cap to 5.5 mil. Then I wasn't sleeping, and I was watching that, and I was thinking what happens next morning with it. So definitely a fun experience to be had as well.
There you go. Staying up for the right reasons. Han, you have been staying up as well. I hear lots of stuff cooking. Ashay, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Oh, definitely. When Legendary was talking about, sleeping really late, I was like, I'm right there. Yeah, this, waking up for this show, I thought I would get used to it, and I still haven't gotten used to it. But yeah, we've been definitely cooking. We've been cooking a lot of stuff at Shape, and yeah, pretty excited for everything.
Sounds pretty exciting. One of the things that you mentioned that seemed pretty interesting to me when you shared it with me yesterday is this Shapecraft announcement. You announced this yesterday. It said Shapecraft brings builders and artists together for 4 weeks of creativity. There's a kind of cool little video I'll share on the screen as well for people who are watching in. Remember, we're live on Twitter video, live on YouTube as well if you prefer watching in. Cool little video you shared on Twitter as well. Just wanted to give you a chance to maybe explain what this is. What is this concept of Shapecraft?
Yeah, so Shapecraft is really cool. So it's 4 weeks. It's a hackathon, but it's also, of course, for devs, but also for artists. So if you think about it, a great example of a so you can build worlds in crypto. So for example, DeepL, created by DK, which we covered 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
They're customizable avatars, and you can put clothes on them, and make it look like you. Well, those DeepLs, they could actually run around in something that you create, let's say a game, and that's a great example of like a world that you create on top of DeepLs. And so we want to expand the use cases of crypto, and Shapecraft is the kind of hackathon where we can go beyond some of the things that we have gotten used to and only focus on, let's say. And then really excited for things that people will create. I think it'll kind of open up expectations of what crypto can be. And other people have also started to talk about like world building as like great examples. And yeah, pretty excited for what everyone will create.
That's really interesting. Is one of the concepts there, because I've been thinking about this for a while as well, is one of the concepts that instead of then all of the pressure being on one person, say take the DK DeepL example, instead of all the pressure being on DK to like build out the world, it's more that he's able to produce particular objects or particular things, and other people can then leverage those things in whichever world they go and build in. Is that a fair assessment?
Exactly. So in previous models, like what DK would have had to do is like he would have to create his own games and worlds where DeepLs could run around and do things. And instead, in the world of, let's say, like Shapecraft, some person can now come and build on top of DeepLs. The DeepL world will have been created, and then now they can just make it, do things or have particular, like, let's say you've created a game that has armor. Well, an idea could be like you could take an item from the DeepL's world and say that it has a particular armor rating, and suddenly it has additional utility in this world that you've created.
Love it. That's really, really interesting. Looking forward to see how you roll that out. And just so people know, the date on that begins in November, right, Han?
Yeah, so November 18th is when we will have a kickoff, and the kickoff will actually also, so this is a fully online hackathon, so anybody can participate without being in a location, but we'll also have kickoff events in person in San Francisco in Alchemy HQ, and then in Paris in Ledger HQ, and in New York at Station 3, which is a great co-working space for devs and artists. So it's going to be pretty exciting.
Very cool.
Before November 18th, we'll also have tons of workshops for understanding or talking about how to do certain things or developing on certain platforms. So we'll have a full list of like things to do before November 18th.
Very, very interesting. I was actually just at Ledger HQ last week. Went there for the grand opening. It was really, really fun. The office is unbelievable. If you are in the area, even whether it's for Shapecraft, whether it's for anything else, you've got to check in there. They're very, very welcoming, and they want people to come in to kind of create a hub in Europe for people in crypto doing whatever they're doing. So highly recommend that. Highly recommend getting involved. That's a little update, Han. As always, remember today we've got a fantastic conversation coming up with the brilliant AI video artist Chikai. He's the founder of Postino AI and also the co-creator of Google Earth. That's coming up on the half hour. Let's get into the headlines and price action first, get you up to speed with everything that's happened as usual. But just before we do that, we're delighted to shout out our sponsor for today's show, Gondi. They're on stage with us in the Twitter spaces. Gondi is the premier NFT lending platform. Just today on Gondi, an Autoglyph with a 100K principal loan was refinanced down from 13% to 12%, achieving a better deal for the borrower without them needing to do anything. If you're in the business of NFTs, check out Gondi to earn some interest as a lender on your ETH or USDC, or as a borrower, you can unlock liquidity from your Grail assets. Getting into the price action, Bitcoin is down 1% at 67. God, 76, that would have been good. 67.2, down almost 2%. ETH is down almost 3% at 2.6. Solana is flat at $166. On the meme coin side of things, a little bit of red as well. WIF is down 4% to $2.50. Bonk is down 1%. Popcat is up 6% to $1.40. Mog's down 7%. Turbo down 1% as well. So a bit of a mixed bag over there. In terms of the headlines, as mentioned, Shoggoth runs to 34 million FDV after fighting off a Wintermute vampire attack. Legendary is going to break that down in just a second. First top trader tournament on ApeChain has gone pretty well, concluded with 3.1K buy-ins and a $20,000 prize that went to its winner. And then finally, the MakerDAO community will vote on return to Maker brand after one of the largest crypto rebrandings to Sky. 4 weeks after one of the biggest rebrands in the world of decentralized finance, the MakerDAO community will vote on whether the protocol's new identity Sky was the right move. Legendary was finding that quite funny when we were talking earlier, because we just thought, imagine if we, after we've just done our rebrand, decided to just scrap it and go back. All the work that goes into it must be quite frustrating. CryptoPunk Purple Hair sale, in terms of notable sales, sold for 33.45 ETH, showing that on screen for the people who are watching. A Bond Bear, this is the BearChain ecosystem, selling for 28.5 ETH, and a Beeple Everyday selling again for 11.5 ETH. That's everything on the headlines and price action side. Legendary, do you want to take us through what's going on in the NFT market?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at the major JPEGs. Bored Apes are down 6% over the last 24 hours, but well above the 12 ETH floor, sitting at 12.1. And also, I think important to keep in mind that they're still up majorly on the week, up 11.5% over the last 7 days. Obviously, that has to do with the ApeChain launch. In terms of the pudgies, they're basically flat. They're sitting at a 9.4 ETH floor, still up 6% over the last 7 days. Azuki's kind of share a similar story, down almost 1%, 5.17 ETH floor for them, still up 4% over the last 7 days. Milady's actually up 1.7%, sitting at a 4.85 ETH floor price. Good move also over the last 7 days, up 9% over the time frame. Another collection I wanted to pick out quickly is Kenpai Pandas. They had a good day, up another 18% at a 0.46 ETH floor. Up 15% over the last 7 days, but still struggling to make a stronger comeback after we had reported on the story with the founder with the token launch, I think, if I remember correctly. And they had some upwards momentum, have this like spikes where they move 20% in a day, but still far away from the highs that they used to have.
Nice. Good little roundup from the NFT market side. Back to the Web3 roundup to give you a bit of a rest of a summary. The Ripple co-founders donated $10 million in XRP to the Kamala Harris team. Deep in Solana project, Grass announces final airdrop eligibility checker, so you can check that out. Just another one on the airdrop stuff. Scrolls token just went live today. I missed that one on the snapshot, but that is, I think it's trading just over 1 billion FDV to go check out. Choose Rich Nick launches fraud live on the morning show. The ticker fraud, not running fraud itself. It runs to $3 million before tanking to 600K. Bored Ape holders are granted ownership of their equivalent apes and mutants on ApeChain. This is an interesting thing where they basically have created shadow tokens for the Bored Ape tokens, which will move as the main NFTs transfer ownership. Those shadow tokens on ApeChain will move as well. That's pretty interesting. In more news, as we are going to get into, Postino digital stamp platform will launch today on Shape. Punks on ApeChain went up 4x after their launch. We love a punk derivative on an L2. And Doodles sell 4,800 out of 6,000 of their Terra trunk packs with a chance to win an OG Doodle NFT. Doodle's doing really cool stuff with these kind of pack opening processes, which the community are finding a lot of fun. I know Legendary was on a stream with Whale the other day doing some pack ripping. Always a fun process. That's the Web3 roundup. Legendary, before we hit the headlines, anything catching your attention there?
Yeah, I found the news by Adam very, very amusing, saying that there's nothing else to ape on ApeChain in terms of NFTs that are listed on Magic Eden. Punks were the only collection. We don't like the punk derivatives, but hey, if it's the only thing we can buy, there's also going to go money into that. And it has done a 4x at the time that he had posted that. I found that quite entertaining.
Yeah, that's funny. I think they were only $12. So like for $12, you buy a CryptoPunk for $12, right? Pretty, it's a no-brainer of a decision. Right, we got a lot of headlines to get through. We're going to give quick summaries today because we want to get into that big conversation with Chikai on the half hour. First headline, Legendary, this is for you to take away. It's kind of a weird story of like modern warfare in crypto. What's the breakdown on Shoggoth?
Absolutely. We had a bit of PvP in the trenches, if you want to call it like that. Shoggoth is a meme coin that launched a couple days ago. It's, for those who know H.P. Lovecraft, basically the father of modern horror, very, very good author. Shoggoth is one of the characters in his many books, and kind of became the quote-unquote face of AI meme coins and did pretty well. until the point where a derivative was launched, another Shoggoth that got an incredible amount of volume in the millions and started to rival with the original Shoggoth. And a bit of a PvP, a bit of a player versus player situation began where people were tweeting about that. Frank was posting about that. The alpha groups were kind of asking themselves, who's going to be the winner? Do we ape into this? Don't we ape into this? Are we waiting on that? And it turned out that the original Shoggoth ultimately did win. The Wintermute vampire attack, if you want to call it like that, was fought off successfully. And currently you have the derivative Shoggoth trading still at 4 million market cap, but obviously down from its high at around 15 million, whereas the original Shoggoth is actually at all-time highs, trading at 34 million right now, and has been able to use that winning momentum, call it the David versus Goliath redemption arc, to go up to new heights. So that's been pretty interesting to see that, and it's a bit reflective of a bit more of the PvP that I've been seeing over the last couple of days, with original coins fighting off the derivatives, and not always the original one, the older one, winning, but also very interesting to see that you have a very aggressive attack that's also been driven on basically 8-figure volume in trying to capture the spot as the new and better Shoggoth.
It's pretty interesting. One of the things that I found interesting was that these larger institutions like Wintermute were even playing in these games. Like, I thought they were just market makers, very significant market makers, algorithmic traders, and things of that nature. I didn't know that this is one of the ways that they would be allocating capital. Have you ever heard of this?
I mean, it kind of makes sense. We talked about Wintermute, and I think a thing that many people don't know about Wintermute is that their trading volume is pretty insane. I remember sharing the stat. I'm going to double check that real quick again. Yes, it was 5,500 billion US dollars in cumulative trading volume that Wintermute did. So obviously they're in this high frequency algorithmic trading segment, and 50 million versus 5.5k billion is nothing. It's just an interesting experiment to run and see what can happen if they do that. So definitely makes sense to see them experimenting with that, and I think it's something that will become a more frequent thing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Very interesting. Okay, glad we got people up to speed on that. Next headline is on the top trader tournament on ApeChain, concluded with 3,100 buy-ins and $20,000 to the winner. I believe this is a tournament that will be going on every single day. It costs 10 ape to participate, and I think this probably goes down as quite a success. Legendary. A reasonable, like the ape token is up on this new demand now that this token has been created, the new chain has been created, and it seems like there are people who are willing to participate in this game, who are paying customers for one of the many products which are being built out on ApeChain. Any reflections on either the participation in the game itself, or the financial kind of prize pool that they're kind of playing with here? 20K for a winner.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. I think ApeChain has had a tremendous launch. They've obviously seen lots of money flowing into the meme coins in the beginning, with the insane runs that we've seen with Board, with Curtis. But it was also clear that that will correct pretty quickly. And then the question kind of remained, what is the thing that keeps people hooked, that keeps people on the chain, until there's more to do? Obviously, it's a fresh chain launching, although with a lot of protocols. And I think a lot of people put pivotal importance to how Top Trader will do, and will it attract people. And I think we talked about on the show, and it's the right concept to have real money to win and not just be kind of gambling in demo mode. And for the first one, actually pretty good. Like 3.2k people playing there. Not everyone has left and basically took their meme coin profits, and is now moving on as mercenary capital. We've seen the fantasy top model work. That's in some ways a similar model. That tournament structure, daily things to do, takes a bit of your time, gets you back to ApeChain, gets you back engaged, is a nice model. We need to see if that will still be interested interesting in a couple weeks, couple months. But for now, I do think it's a good launch for that.
If you think about it, I think the game itself is self-sustaining in that respect. If it's 10 ape to participate and there's 3.1k buyers, that's more than $30,000. Probably pushing, because of ape's rise in price, is pushing towards $40,000 in intake, and then you have a 20k winner. So it's like it's actually paying for itself as long as those economics kind of continue, which is pretty interesting to see. Some people talk about the financialization of the prize pool and, you know, incentivizing gamers or players in this particular way. Han, I was wondering, as a founder, how do you think about thoughtfully incentivizing community with rewards when it comes to you know, when you're building out Shape?
Yeah, totally. I think of it this way. This is crypto after all. So it certainly has to be something that's like really fun and you can win something and it's great. But it certainly can't be the only thing. That there actually has to be substance. There actually has to be a real community that believes in something. Otherwise, once the financialization disappears, then all you have left is, I think, legendary. You said the words really well, which is like mercenary capital. It just drains out once the game is done, and so it's, I think, very important to have a real community of believers who are there, I think, for the right reasons. But financialization is there for having fun, so, which is absolutely essential. So
Yeah, I think that makes sense. In the end, it's got to be some type of balance. Yes, you want to reward people, but it can't be the only reward. So I think that is a very fair take. Legendary, final headline before we get into the conversation with Chikai in just a little bit. This one's about MakerDAO and their rebranding. Just maybe set up who Maker are, why people should care about this, why you think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. MakerDAO being one of the oldest and largest DeFi protocols in the entire Ethereum ecosystem, recently underwent a rebranding process. We talked about it on the show. Rebranded Maker to Sky, rebranded and upgraded their stablecoin DAI to USDS. And now there is a proposal by the Maker co-founder that basically says, look, we launched Sky 2 weeks ago. The USDS supply exceeded $1 billion. Whereas DAI still sits at 4.7 billion, so obviously not as fast in terms of the upgrade, despite USDS coming with the higher yield as a stablecoin to make it more attractive for people to want to switch over. While they're acknowledging they're just starting over, they are open to the community feedback that said, why is this rebranding going on? We don't really understand that. We want the old Maker back. And now they are presenting, after what has been a tremendously expensive rebranding, I can imagine, the community with 3 options. Option 1 being continue with Sky as a core brand. Option 2, recenter the Maker brand with its original brand identity. And option 3, which sounds a bit murky to me, recenter the Maker brand with a refreshed brand identity, which kind of sounds like the rebrand of the rebrand, but not fully going back to the old brand. So it's a bit of a weird news because they only gave it kind of 2 weeks time before they open it up for a vote to go back to it. We'll definitely keep reporting on that and see what the final outcome of that will be.
That's so funny. My heart goes out to the people who did the work on the rebrand. We know ourselves after just going through this rebranding process that is so much work. That, I mean, other people will just see a new logo and think, "Oh, cool! Like that's it. That it just appeared one day, and that's fine." But there's so much back and forth that it must be so painful. Han, maybe just a quick one on the perspective as a founder, like branding and all of that part of it. Can you speak to like how much work goes into that? I don't think I ever realized until I do what I do now, but like your stuff is all really thoughtfully done as well. Like when you announce the spaces and all that stuff, it's like really artistically done. Do you want to have a word on that?
Oh man, we spent so much time on all this stuff, and I'm sure you did too. Yeah, this word brand, it almost probably feels, it's basically what I think of it as, like when I say the word, let's say the modern market, like what does it feel like to a listener? Like, do you have, that's basically the brand. Like, what is the immediate recall when I say modern market, and then what do I associate with it? And so there is so much work that goes behind it, and it's beyond, I would say, just like the colors, or beyond just the visual language. It's and in fact, you guys do such a great job of branding, because you guys are the personalities, and like they instantly call B check legendary when you think of modern market. And so yeah, I mean, so much goes into it, and we spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, I completely concur. Thank you for the kind words, but damn, to do it all again after you've done it, that would be a painful process, I think. Definitely important though, and it's heartening to know that other people spend as much time and care as much about this very important, almost intangible thing. But you know, it is there, it does exist, and as founders, it's super important. So I'm sure people find that valuable. Look, we want to move into today's interview segment. Delighted to welcome to the stage Chikai. Chikai is at the vanguard of AI and video art. He crafts cinematic narratives that delve into the human condition. His acclaimed collections, Cinematic AI and Panopticon, highlight his innovative approach to storytelling through AI technology. Beyond his AI creations, Chikai is a visionary behind the generative art project Circle of Friends. As a passionate collector and curator, he founded Monolith Gallery, a platform that aims to bring more visibility to more artists. His unique perspective is further enriched by his remarkable achievements outside the art world. He's the co-creator of Google Earth and holds a PhD in biomedical engineering, blending his scientific expertise with his artistic endeavors to pioneer new frontiers in digital art. Han, I wondered if you had a quick word to say here as well on how you started working with Chikai, and a little bit of an intro.
Yeah, totally. Chikai is a very visible member of like NFTs and art, and yeah, we actually initially started talking when he had the Monolith gallery that he was building at the time, and then all the AI art that he created is actually so interesting. So he's a technologist at heart, explores everything. Such a thoughtful creator and builder. Really excited to talk to him today.
Great. Welcome to the show, Chikai.
Yeah, I'm always embarrassed by these intros, but I appreciate all the words, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited. Even though it's like 4 a.m. my side, I am up early and ready to go.
We have always wondered, like, look, what happens when someone's on the West Coast or when someone's in a different time zone? Like, are they going to make it? So respect to you, Chikai, for being the first person to say yes from the West Coast. To be fair, there hasn't been another person yet, but we'll see when the time comes. Will the other people from the West Coast be around? But yeah, appreciate you for joining us at a super early hour. I want to kick things off for the people who maybe, before we kind of get into this latest project of yours, Postino, I wanted to ask you about how you got into this space and your very interesting background. You hold a PhD in biomedical engineering and you're the co-creator of Google Earth. So how did your education lead you to Google Earth, and how did your work there lead you into this space?
You know, a lot of my life has been a series of stuff that wasn't intentional. Like I thought I was going to be a professor at a university doing research, doing a PhD in biomedical engineering. I thought I was going to do. But I did a summer internship out in Silicon Valley one summer, and it completely changed my perspective. I thought going to a company was you wear a suit and tie every day, you work there your entire life, you get a pension, and you retire. That was my concept of working for a company. But coming to Silicon Valley, that was not the case. You know, you change jobs every 3 to 4 years. People wore shorts, a t-shirt, and a Birkenstocks to work. It was like completely different from what I expected. And so after that summer, my life went a very different direction, and I came out to Silicon Valley afterwards. And I did not become a professor. And so I went to a company called Silicon Graphics, and then from there, I left pretty soon after because at the time, I thought the company was doing well, but then it went down. But we left to start a startup, our first startup, called Keyhole, and that eventually got acquired by Google to become Google Earth. And I was there for a very long time. And at some point, I left after almost 10 years. I think I was there, and left to start another startup. But this one failed, and in that failure, as I was shutting down the company, I was like, "What is this NFT thing?" I was looking for something fun to dig into. I had no inkling of going into crypto. I had never bought crypto. I had read about it. I knew about it, but knew nothing about it. And then this NFT thing came along, and I bought an NFT, and then just went down the rabbit hole. It was, and now I'm here.
That's a crazy story. What was it? Just to delve into the history a little bit more. What was it about the Keyhole company that you mentioned that led to the Google acquisition?
We basically built Google Earth. That was the whole company. The company was building this 3D fly-through of the Earth, like a video game, and getting this technology that was only really accessible by like GIS professionals who did mapping, sort of very highly detailed, complex software to navigate and get information out of these satellite imagery and all these mapping data. And the idea was to bring that to everybody, so anybody could sort of go through that satellite imagery, and to build like basically the world's largest satellite imagery, aerial imagery database ever created. And so initially it was a consumer idea, but then, to weather the dot-com crash, we turned into more enterprise software. But then Google bought us and then helped realize the original vision. And when the iPhone came out, and we had Google Earth running on the iPhone, it was like a moment like you dreamed of like having this device. Because like when we started, 3D graphics cards were in a computer. They weren't even on phones or laptops. That eventually came later, and there'd be broadband everywhere. This was all a dream at the time we started Keyhole. But the phone basically is, broadband everywhere, 3D graphics on your phone, and you can fly through the Earth by touching the screen. It was just a pretty amazing moment when that happened.
Just wanted to
Wow.
say one thing, Chikai. So Google Earth and Google 3D Maps, basically one of my favorite apps ever. I spend like hours looking at buildings and looking at like the cities, and I think it's wonderful.
I appreciate that, Han. And it's incredible what people have done with it. I mean, there's like a whole like Oscar nominated film called Lion that was made about this guy who basically left his got lost. He slept on a train, and at 5 years old, in India, and was separated from his family, got adopted, and searched through Google Earth to find his original home, and went back to it. There's a whole movie with Dev Patel on that. And then just yesterday, I mean, even today, it's just amazing how many times it's used. Joe Pease, one of the most incredible artists today, who's doing his Glitch Marfa thing, his promo video for Glitch Marfa had a zoom in from Google Earth. And so like, that's just like so cool to see that even today, like people using it in these ways that are just, I don't know, it just makes me very grateful I was there at that time and able to sort of participate in building that technology.
That's amazing. From a personal perspective, then you built this kind of groundbreaking technology. It started to get disseminated worldwide. As you said, it must have been a dream as a technologist to actually see it in the hands of so many people and working. What made you then leave after what must have been quite a successful career, even at Google? What kind of happened to that made you desire to kind of start something new again?
I think a lot of people at Google, and just even a lot of people in this space, have a very entrepreneurial spirit. They want to create stuff. They want to build things and start and push the boundaries of what we can go. And I think that hunger was there, and it was just time. I mean, most people don't stay at a company like 10 years after they get acquired. Most often leave within a couple of years. But, I think that it was just time to explore new things and find that sort of founder spirit again. I think that there's something about creating something from nothing and building it, and I really do enjoy that process, that creative process. And I think that's sort of what led me toward the artistic side, which was another completely unexpected turn. But I think a lot of my life and my career has been about, you may think you're going this one direction, but always being open to opportunity and just seeing where things lead you and following that direction. And so I think that's sort of how my life is led, because you go from PhD in biomedical engineering to mapping technology to now art and crypto. It's not a straight line. There's a core to it, but it's not a straight line.
Talk to me then about that artistic turn then. So you went off to create a new company that maybe didn't play out as you had expected, but somehow in that process you discovered NFTs. What went from discovering the NFTs to then becoming an artist yourself?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, my field started up with a chatbot company. I was like 5 years too early to this whole sort of AI chatbot thing.
Okay.
Just shows you the timing really matters when you start a company. But in terms of the NFT and artist journey, I started off collecting just because and I thought I would be a bystander. I thought I would just be sitting out in the crowd watching it all happen, and nobody would care what I say. That did not happen. I ended up being very intimately involved with the community and made tons of friends, and very much part of what's happening in a very, very deep way that I didn't anticipate. And it's a lot to do with the community embraced me and who I was. And so I think a lot of it was I was able to be who I was, just be me, and people liked it versus having to put on a personality or some kind of other thing to sort of get people to like me. And so um, it was an evolution, honestly. It was just from collecting to create my own gallery to, I mean, I think the thing that started it all, which is somewhat where Postino started before my AI video I gotta call it like just phase, or just not phase, but just this new arc that happened in my growth. But AI was, of course, something everybody was looking at. And it's like, what's going on here, especially after Midjourney came out. And a lot of it for me was, how does this work? This is so incredible and insane. And there's lots of works that were coming out that were using Midjourney. So I got to at least understand what this is. I'm going to buy any of this stuff. And so I started digging into it and playing with it. And like most of the things I do, if I get into it, I go deep into it. That was true with NFTs. It was true with mapping. It was true with, biomedical engineering. I go super deep into it. And so I start just playing with it for fun. And at some point, there was a transition where I said, okay, I can create my own stuff. I can try to create great stuff versus just purely experimenting. And that evolved. And I think a lot of what allowed me and encouraged me to go on was a lot of artists in the community gave very positive feedback and encouragement to continue that sort of direction. And so I was very thankful to those people, because I think going from collector to artist could have gone horribly wrong. I mean, it could have turned out like in a way where they reject it. So this guy is just a poser trying to make money and trying to flip stuff. And so I think that I was pretty open about my process and how I was doing it. And I think the support of the community both allowed me and encouraged me to do it. But then when AI video took off in the summer of 2023, that somehow hit a resonant frequency within me, and it was exactly what I needed to truly express what I had in me as an artist, which I didn't know really existed. It's like you couldn't talk your whole life, and then suddenly you're able to talk. So you start talking all the time. It's like a kid who talks the first time. And so I started just creating constantly, and I was creating like a new piece almost every other day. And that sort of grew into the AI video side. And so it just was just this spark, this confluence of technology, just sort of expression, and then just a moment where I think a lot of the AI video art, I think look back as this past year is where a lot of the growth and a lot of the OG artists will come from, because it's just an incredibly creative and just fast sort of evolving time.
I did want to ask specifically about the AI. I probably got a few questions here. I don't know if we can go to all of them, but what are your thoughts on the kind of criticism that AI art has maybe received in the last couple of years? What's the best way to brush that off? Why do you think some people are resistant to it? And what would be like the message for them when it comes to people creating on this very cutting edge way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that with any new technology, like truly game-changing technology, there will always be resistance and fear. I mean, it's just part of the nature of when we created Google Earth, there was a lot of concerns about privacy and what it did, and there's misconceptions, like they thought it was real-time video of your house, so people are looking for their car in front of their house. So, like, I mean, there's a lot of that that happens, and I think part of it is education, understanding what is it really, and some of those things are truly, you should take them seriously. I mean, I think that you do need to respect their side in terms of where their fear is coming from, and in terms of the core of it versus what they perceive the technology to do versus what it actually does. And so I don't think it's unnatural. I think it's a very natural progression of any game-changing technology of this. And it is one where you can see, like, wow, it could do a lot of things that could potentially replace jobs or all kinds of stuff. But the way I look at it is, I mean, I think of it as a tool, and it is a tool that is democratizing in a way that that may not be apparent at first. Maybe because what I've seen in the trenches with AI video is that it provides people a way to make movies and cinematic art, or just any kind of AI like video type art, like moving picture art, giving them opportunity to do stuff that they could never do before, because
Mm.
it's so expensive and time consuming to create, an animated film, or to do a movie, to be on set and all this kind of stuff. And you're able to take these ideas in your head and actually make them real, and do it all from your computer. And so there's all this pent up creativity that's out there that they just can't come out because they just don't have the time, the money, the resources. And so you see all these people from who would never have done it do
Mm.
it, or people who were, had some illness that came up that did not allow them to do it. And so that's been the most incredible thing. So I hope what it does is it levels up the quality of, let's say, cinema. And so you just can't put out an average TV show and succeed. You have to level it up because there's so many people creating incredible ideas. And I hope it's a rebirth of new sort of stories and new universes versus just rehashing the old ones and just doing part twos and sequels.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's the amazing thing about technology, right? I've thought about that even from our perspective as a media company, where, you know, at, at some point in time, if we had had this concept of trying to produce this show, they would, if StreamYard didn't exist and the internet didn't exist in the way that it does, there'd be no way for us to just go live and reach so many different people in so many different places. And that opportunity would have only been for certain people who had the physical apparatus to set up and the distribution method at the time. Whereas now, everyone who wants to do something like this literally can, with a few $100s a year subscription and a little bit of kit. And I guess maybe in the same way, if you want to try to produce video now and you don't have all this stuff, these tools can, like, it levels the playing field. Like, you can go and play and explore and create and see what you can do. So I'm a big believer in that kind of concept as well.
Yeah, totally, totally. I mean, I think the key thing there, even if you don't necessarily want to launch it or successful or not, is that you get to practice. The key
mm,
thing about a lot of this stuff is you got to do it again and again and again, and do it live. You can't just do a show in your room with no audience. That there's something about having an audience and guests,
mm,
and if you can practice that every day, you get better. But if you have no opportunity to practice that, you can't get better. So I think that's another key element that I think is for, like, video editing. You can't video edit unless you have footage. And
mm.
so the practice part, and then putting your 10,000 hours in to become an expert, you can start today versus waiting until you can actually be in the studio that's very expensive or hard to get into.
100%. That's a recurring theme when we speak to people who are doing very well, just putting the time in. As you said, you produced countless pieces day after day after day, and you're kind of addicted to it. I think that speaks for itself. Look, we've only got 10 minutes left at the moment, Chikai. I definitely want to move on to your latest project, Postino. It's a digital collectible project of AI generated stamps. So I just wanted to give you a chance to explain, like, A, what inspired you to create this? And in what way do you think this is going to be useful and interesting to people?
Yeah, I mean, I created it over a year ago. It was very, very early on. I was experimenting with this idea of just having something fun and making AI very accessible in a way that look good, because there's a lot of ways to do AI and it can look bad or not consistent, but create something where people can participate in it and it still looks good and have fun with it. And I think the key thing is fun. I think we've in the bear, because it's tough, things became very serious in terms of the art created and the business side and the collecting. Like, it became a very serious conversation. Like, is this worthy to collect? Like, who's succeeding and that kind of stuff. And I think because of that, just a tough time, the fun got lost a little bit. And so part of the idea behind it was, I just want to have things be fun and light and just enjoy it. And so part of it was to to make it less expensive, because I mean, nobody can have fun when you're losing like large amounts of money every day.
Yeah,
But if you spend a
not fun.
little bit,
Not enjoyable.
and have fun with it, and it's about gifting stuff to friends and that kind of stuff, then that's fun. Like, it's like buying a beer for a friend or sending a card. It's like, it's not expensive, but it means a lot to sit down and have a beer with a friend, or send a card to tell them you're thinking about them. And so I think that was sort of the feeling, the emotion I was trying to tap into again, because I had so much fun initially, and I think Shape has brought back a lot of fun for me in terms of that ecosystem. And so it sat there, and I wanted to launch it like last year. I did an alpha test, but I could not find basically an L2 or a chain that I was happy with, that had all the tooling, that had the support I needed. And I looked at, and plus the landscape was changing constantly. It was, way back when it was Polygon, and then, then it was Base, and then it was like, Solana came back in the picture, then it was Blast, then it was Base again. So I was like, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know where to go. And, one thing upon sort of reflection, was that none of those were my people. Like, they weren't my culture, but they were the momentum, sort of current momentum of L2s. You want to have enough liquidity in the system and all the technical details, but they weren't necessarily my people. But it was the current sort of top sort of momentum L2. And so I sat on it for a long time, because I was just not happy with the technology. I was not happy with the L2 for different reasons. And then Shape came along, and the conversation kicked up again. So I talked to the people at Transient who have been sort of chatting about this idea for a while, and we chatted about Shape. It's like, okay, let's give this a try. And so we got into it, and right as I was getting into it, Base kicked up again. And this massive influx came in. So I said, Praveen, like, what's going on? Should I still do Shape? Like, why should I do Shape? I asked Han, asked them so many questions. I grilled them pretty hard, I feel like, because I mean, you go deep and you care about it. You just want to go deep, and I think that it really was that sort of conversation, those really hard conversations, of what convinced me. Like, Han really had a good answer to a lot of the questions I had, and he was willing to talk about it. And so I went with it, and now I look back on it, I think this is the right choice. Every L2 has a risk to it, but I think that it was the right home for it. And I think that the key things I needed: inexpensive, have fun, and I think the core product I knew had some resonance based on previous stuff. It's just, how do you bring this to the world? And so now it's launching today. It's just launched. I actually pushed it out live right before this call.
Oh, amazing.
And people are, I have no idea what's going on right now since I'm on this show, but hopefully people are creating Postino stamps, but it's out there right now.
Amazing. I'm going to, just conscious of time, I'm going to share some of the information on screen in a second. While I do that, Han, might be good to bring you in here. What did you tell Chikai when you were having those conversations? I thought it was an interesting way to frame the L2s. Certain ones being like momentum L2s, and I guess you guys being distinguished from that in some way. In what way do you view that distinction?
Yeah, I think Chikai actually put it really well. He said, by people, and a chain is a collection of people that you actually choose to belong to. And so we are, I think for Shape, I mean, the way that we discussed is like, we want to create the web of NFTs. I know NFTs haven't been embraced by society yet, in a full way. They don't fully understand what it could be, and we want to make all of that happen on Shape. I think that was the part that really resonated with Chikai. For Postinos, I'm really excited for it because what is really cool about it is like when we talk about the web of NFTs, well, this stamp is just merely, well, not merely. It's basically, it tells you that like I was here. It's like you could slap the stamp on like a bunch of things. So let's say that you have an NFT that you like or something, and then you could put a stamp on it. Or if you're a famous artist, you could create your own stamp, and then you could apply it to other NFTs, and lots of people will actually want it. When I saw the nice aunties stamp, I was like, wait, I want this stamp on like one of my NFTs, saying like, nice aunties approves this NFT. So there's a lot of like composable capabilities that's coming from Postinos. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's brilliant. Excited for it.
Amazing. Super interesting. Chikai, I've got the details here. We're drawing towards the close of the show. The public launch is today. You said, I think you just pushed it live a moment ago. They're 0.0024 ETH each stamp. It's an ongoing collection, 0% royalties. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us and the listeners about the collection going live?
I guess it has a date, and in terms of the day and the year, as well as like what country it was created from. And so this idea of time and space, which I think will be, it's something where your memories are often associated with a time and place. And so I hope that is able to sort of capture that on chain. And then there's also the actual creative part. It's not just a stamp you get and you get whatever the artist wanted. You can make almost anything that you want in that stamp within the limits of the AI generation tools. So and so that's fun because you can create a meme or whatever you want in that context. And the last one, I think, credit to Han. He said, we're looking at these stamps, like I want to see like who created it. I want to know who created it somewhere burned into the image. And so last week we added basically around the circle. If you look at the more recent ones, there's like your ENS name and the wallet that was used to create it. So there's a little bit of almost a serial number, or whatever you want to call it, on the Postino stamp that sort of shows who created it. And so I think there'll be an evolution of the postmark. There's lots of things we'll do to sort of celebrate and hopefully memorialize time as it passes, both in the future, but also celebrate what's happened in the past. And so I think it's an ongoing project, and it's a way to, like Han said, to mark, I was here, or, I mean, it is something where if you just think about stamps or coins, there's ways to celebrate culture. Like, there's lots of famous musicians and actors and historical figures that have been on stamps before. So I think that similar concepts there, and I think it's a very natural, very understandable sort of concept for the average person, which I'm hoping will bring in more people to the space.
I love it. Sounds super, super interesting. Love that it's an ongoing project that we can monitor as we go. Chikai, that is the end of the show. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Thanks. And also thanks Han and Shape for facilitating this conversation. Thanks to Legendary for co-hosting as always. And thanks to our sponsor for today's show, Gondi, for seeing the vision for the modern market and Shape partnership. Gondi is a premier NFT lending platform where there are routinely millions of dollars of loans given against autoglyphs, CryptoPunks, Fidenzas, and X copies, just to name a few. So check them out if you're looking to earn as a lender or unlock liquidity as a borrower. Thank you, as always, to all of you for tuning in. Remember, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for 1 hour live on X Spaces, X Video, and YouTube. Take care. Have a wonderful day. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.